George Russell breaks silence after Toto Wolff wants Kimi and Max together at Mercedes. Mercedes may have started questioning George Russell's performance, while Toto Wolff has made it clear that he would love to see Kimi, Antonelli and Max Verstappen together at Mercedes. But Russell might have a message of his own. You thought my career was over? You thought no team would want me anymore? Well, that was your biggest mistake, because if Mercedes really decides to make room for Max Verstappen by pushing Russell out, George Russell could simply walk straight into Red Bull. So Mercedes might want to think twice before making that decision, because the driver you're trying to replace today could become the man beating you from the other side tomorrow. Let's break down why this is even being discussed, what's driving the speculation, and what it would mean for both drivers if it actually happens. Here's the uncomfortable truth for George Russell. On paper, replacing him with anyone currently available on the grid doesn't make sense. Carlos Sainz to Mercedes doesn't add up. That opportunity effectively closed before it opened. Toto Wolff committed to Kimi Antonelli the moment Lewis Hamilton confirmed his move to Ferrari. Sainz was never really in that conversation, so if there's no logical driver to replace Russell with using the current market, why does his name keep coming up in these conversations at all? Because there's exactly one driver who changes the entire equation: Max Verstappen. If Verstappen ever decided Red Bull's project no longer excites him, if he looked at Mercedes' resources, their long-term stability, their championship-winning infrastructure, a seat at Mercedes wouldn't be a downgrade. It would be a genuine, credible option. And if that happens, Russell isn't just under pressure. He's out the door no matter how well he's driven this season. That's the brutal calculus of Formula One. It's rarely personal. It's about grabbing the best driver available the moment he becomes available and figuring out the fallout afterward. Why would Max even consider it? Red Bull's form has been inconsistent this year, and rumors keep circulating about tension behind the scenes at Milton Keynes. Verstappen has made it clear in the past that his loyalty to Red Bull isn't unconditional. If he ever felt the team's trajectory wasn't matching his own ambitions, he wouldn't hesitate to explore his options elsewhere. Mercedes, meanwhile, is currently leading the Constructors' Championship by 72 points. They have the infrastructure, the budget, and a car that's genuinely competitive right now. For a driver chasing more titles and more records, that's an attractive proposition, hypothetical or not. And here's the twist: Mercedes wouldn't need much convincing either. Verstappen is arguably the most dominant driver of this generation. Any team on the grid would restructure their entire lineup to accommodate him, no questions asked, including Mercedes, including at Russell's expense, even after everything Russell has done to help build that championship lead. This is where the story gets interesting, because losing your seat at a top team doesn't mean your career is over. It means your value gets tested somewhere else, under a different microscope. If Max moves to Mercedes, Red Bull suddenly has a massive vacancy at the front of their grid, one they can't fill with an inexperienced junior driver. And who fills it? The driver market chatter points straight back to Russell. Think about what Russell actually brings to a team like Red Bull. He's currently sitting inside a championship-winning operation. He's proven he can lead a lineup and hold his own under pressure, even though his teammate Antonelli has had the edge on him recently, sitting 59 points ahead in the standings. He's shown genuine race-winning pace across multiple seasons, and crucially, he knows exactly what it takes to fight at the front of the grid, because he's doing exactly that right now, week after week. For Red Bull, bringing in a driver like Russell wouldn't be a downgrade or a panic signing. It would be recruiting a proven championship-contending talent to slot straight into a car capable of fighting for race wins immediately, without a learning curve. So here's the scenario nobody's fully talking about yet. Max Verstappen swaps into Mercedes. George Russell swaps into Red Bull. And suddenly, the man who got pushed out of one top team is racing for another one just as competitive, if not more so, in the years ahead. Let's talk about why this whole conversation is heating up now. Mercedes currently sits 72 points clear at the top of the Constructors' Championship. Comfortable, right? Not according to Russell himself, who has openly acknowledged that Ferrari's incoming upgrades could eat into that lead faster than people expect. Ferrari isn't slowing down. Multiple upgrade packages have already landed this season, and a fourth major package is reportedly on the way after the summer break, along with a new engine specification expected to debut around Monza. If Ferrari's car turns into the fastest package on the grid during the back half of the season, that 72-point cushion could shrink a lot faster than Mercedes Mercedes would like. And here's the personal pressure on Russell specifically. He's currently 59 points behind his own teammate Antonelli in the driver's standings. If Russell wants any realistic shot at winning the title himself, he needs a string of dominant results over the remaining races, and he needs the car underneath him to stay the class of the field. Realistically, needing your own team's car to stay untouchable while also needing to consistently outscore your teammate is a tough, precarious position to be racing from, which is exactly why speculation about his seat being under threat has started gaining traction. When a driver is under this kind of pressure to deliver immediately, and there's a generational talent like Verstappen even hypothetically available, teams start quietly thinking through worst-case contingency plans, right or wrong, fair or not. That's simply how driver markets operate behind closed doors. If this swap actually happened, it wouldn't just shuffle two names around a spreadsheet. It would redraw the entire competitive picture of the grid for years to come. Mercedes, with Verstappen paired alongside Antonelli, would instantly become the most feared lineup in Formula One, a proven multiple champion next to a rising young talent. Backed by the sport's most well-resourced and historically successful operation, that's a driver pairing capable of dominating a season from lights out to checkered flag. Red Bull, meanwhile, would lose their generational driver but gain a race-winning, championship-tested replacement in Russell, arguably one of the smoothest, most consistent operators on the current market. Someone who wouldn't need time to adapt to fighting at the sharp end of the grid. And Russell himself would go from being talked about as a driver on the chopping block to potentially leading one of the most iconic teams in the sport's history, with a real chance to build something of his own away from Antonelli's shadow. Nothing here is confirmed, and it's worth being clear about that. This entire scenario is still speculation swirling through the paddock, built on hypothetical seat swaps and driver market chatter, not on any official announcement from Mercedes, Red Bull, or the drivers themselves. Verstappen hasn't confirmed any intention to leave Red Bull. Mercedes hasn't confirmed any plan to replace Russell. But that's exactly what makes it worth watching closely over the coming months. In Formula One, today's speculation has a habit of quietly becoming tomorrow's headline. And if Mercedes ever does start seriously exploring life after Russell, don't be surprised if the answer to where he lands next turns out to be Red Bull. Let us know in the comments, do you think this seat swap actually happens before next season, or is George Russell going absolutely nowhere? Hit that like button, subscribe if you're new here, and I'll catch you in the next one.